Fernand. "We are going to eat." Anna was under the impression that they'd already eaten, for they'd had boiled eggs before they came out. But clearly this was not the sort of eating that Monsieur Fernand had in mind. He took them to a large, busy restaurant where they sat at a table outside and ordered a meal. "Snails for the children," cried Fernand. "They've never tried them." Max stared at his portion in horror and couldn't bring himself to touch them. But Anna, encouraged by Francine, tried one and found that it tasted like a very delicious mushroom. In the end, she and Francine ate Max's snails as well as their own. Towards the end of the meal, while they were spooning up cream puffs, an old man arrived with a stool and an accordion. He sat down and began to play, and soon some of the people left their tables to dance in the street.
Who are ya? Who are ya? Who's that behind the mask?
There is a secret place I know where I quite often like to go, beyond the wood behind some rocks, a super place for guzzling chops. When I arrived, I quickly found a comfy-looking little mound, quite clean and round and earthly brown, just right, I thought, for sitting down. Here I will sit all morning long, until all my chops are gone. I sat, I screamed, I jumped a foot. Would you believe that I had put my tender little rump of mine upon a giant porcupine? My backside seemed to catch on fire, 100 red-hot bits of wire, 100 prickles sticking in and puncturing my precious skin. I ran for home, I shouted, "Mum, behold the prickles in my bum." My mum, who always keeps her head, bent down to look, and then she said, "I personally am not about to try and pull those prickles out. I think this is a job that requires the services of Mr. Myers." I shouted, "No, not the dentist, no. Oh, Mum, why don't you just have a go?"
Who are ya? Who are ya? Who's that behind the mask?
I cannot possibly describe to you what it felt like to be standing alone in the pitchy blackness of that silent wood in the small hours of the night. The sense of loneliness was overwhelming. The silence was as deep as death, and the only sounds were the ones I made myself. I tried to keep absolutely still for as long as possible to see if I could hear anything at all. I listened and listened. I held my breath and listened again. I had a queer feeling that the whole wood was listening to me. The trees and the bushes, the little animals hiding in the undergrowth, and the birds roosting in the branches. All were listening. Even the silence was listening. Silence was listening to silence. I switched on the torch. A brilliant beam of light reached out ahead of me like a long white arm. That was better. Now at any rate I could see where I was going. The keepers would also see. But I didn't care about the keepers anymore. The only person I cared about was my father. I wanted him back. I kept the torch on and went deeper into the wood. "Dad!" I shouted. "Dad, it's Danny! Are you there?" I didn't know which direction I was going in. I just kept on walking and calling out.
Who are ya? Who are ya? Who's that behind the mask?
Amos is an old dog who lives on an old couch in an old house that used to be filled with activity. Once the kids were all grown up and had moved away, things were kind of quiet. Mr. and Mrs. Bobson went out a lot, but they never took Amos with them anymore. Where do they go? Amos wondered. If only I could go along, he thought. One day after the Bobsons had gone out, Amos was awakened by a loud, persistent bzzz. He hadn't caught a fly in years, but he decided to give it a try. He tried and he tried. Finally, he went after it with his paw, and slam! He missed the fly, but he hit something else. For suddenly, vroom! The couch moved. Amos hit the cushion again. The couch seemed to come alive.
Who are ya? Who are ya? Who's that behind the mask?
There was only one map that showed the whole of our island, and it hung in Dar's study. I called it Mars Map because it's been passed down through her family for generations, maybe ever since the winter's time, 1,000 years ago. It always felt like a sign and Dal were meant for each other, that he was a cartographer and her only heirloom was a map. Each of us carries the map of our lives on our skin, in the way we walk, even in the way we grow, Dal would often say. See here, how my blood runs not blue at my wrist, but black. Your mother always said it was ink. I'm a cartographer through to my heart.
Who are ya? Who are ya? Who's that behind the mask?
Later, I looked down to see Oona come running through the trees into the clearing. I could see at once that she was unsettled, by the thunder perhaps, I thought, and that surprised me because she'd never shown any fear of thunder before. She was coming on a charge now, her ears flapping, her trunk lifted and trumpeting. She was warning me of something. Not since the tidal wave had I seen her this agitated.